Welcome to Finding Alignment, where we will be having conversations on business, wellness, and relationships for living a more aligned life. I'm your host, Megan Romine, real estate professional, lifelong learner, and speaker. Each time I'm in the studio, I sit down with entrepreneurs, best-selling authors, and everyday high achievers to unpack the habits, boundaries, and mindset shifts that fuel sustainable success. Whether you're growing a business, nurturing relationships, or simply protecting your peace, this show is here to help you take one aligned step forward. Let's dive in. Okay, you guys, today I am so excited. We have John Kim, the angry therapist, best-selling author. I would consider him a relationship expert. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. I got to say, I have a problem with the word relationship expert because, even though I help people with relationships, I don't think anyone's an expert, because any relationship that we're in is different than the relationship we were in. And so it's almost a new living, breathing thing to say that you're an expert, I think can be misleading. I don't want to hold that. So I'm a relationship coach, but I'm not a relationship expert.
Relationship coach. Okay, I like
Yes.
that. And just for listeners to know, I actually found John Kim years ago. And years ago, I had reached out via email. And what had happened is I had read one of your books, and the book was
Mm.
so good. I couldn't put it down. I read it within like a day and a half. And I was like, I got to reach out to this guy. I need to contact him. And I
Wait, which
remember
book was that?
it was Single on Purpose.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Single on Purpose, and it was so good, and I reached out, and from my memory, it was something along the lines of, "Hey, I'd like to hire you," and your response, you were very nice, but you're like, "Hey, I don't really do, like, one-on-one sessions anymore," and I think I said something along the lines of, like, "Hey, I need your help. Can we,
Mm.
I would really, like your coaching," and you took me on as a client, and you just made such a difference in my life, and you were a catalyst for part of, like, my healing journey,
Mhm.
and that's why I really wanted to, like, have you on and share some of your story.
Megan, when I think about you slash us and our collision and, the sessions we've done, I feel like I haven't helped you much. I have this weird thing with you where I feel like, fuck, did she get anything out of our conversations? Like, what else could I do? And, a lot of our sessions, they've only been in Zoom. And a lot of my clients, I do more intensive stuff like in-person retreats, like that kind of stuff. And because with us, we've only been doing Zooms, I always feel kind of a little bit like guilty. Like, did I make any dent? It's something that I carry that I always think about when I think about you and our story.
Really? Well, I think that, whenever we had, collided in life, I was right in the middle of a pretty intense health. I mean, for me, it was like a health
Yeah.
crisis, right?
Yeah. COVID
So,
and yeah.
and then there were things going on, the career and the merger of the team, and like so much stuff going on. So I was really just, going by every day. And obviously,
Yeah.
you're not going to see that on social media or anything like that. But
Right.
what you did is you helped me to open up my healing journey, which isn't
Mhm.
linear. And I went
Mhm.
through different phases, and I went and tried different types of modalities. And, sometimes it's taking talk therapy and then utilizing other aspects as well.
Yeah,
So,
of
I mean,
course.
for me, you were a catalyst and like such a big help. So, like, I'm always so thankful. So, don't
Thank
ever
you.
feel that
And
way.
thank you. Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, if you wanna call this episode "The Therapist Who Didn't Help Me," I would be okay with that. But I gotta say, I tried to make it, and I tell other therapists this, to, not make it your business what your client's gonna take from your exchange, because if you do, 1, it's kinda arrogant, but 2, you just never know what people are gonna take, and also, you may be a stepping stone. You may be the one person that kind of, gets them to get to the next level, and then someone else carries that baton and takes them, further. And so we are all catalysts in each person's lives, right? And so I know I was only one point in your life, and I don't want to make that my business. So it
Yeah, well,
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
well,
What
listen,
matters is what you got.
you definitely help so much, and then it's just, like, I feel like utilizing your voice and also being a best-selling author, like, you're able to help so many people, so I don't know if you really, like,
Mm.
feel, like, the ripple of that, but, like, You really are, because I feel like in today's day and age, like people struggle like relationally, and you're just so authentic to like who you are. And like that's what I loved about what you do. You're authentic, you roll with the punches, and it's real life stuff.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot to me. I think for me, it means more to me if someone says like, "Hey, John, you're a real dude, or you're authentic." To me, that means more than any kind of accolade, any kind of like best-selling author or whatever. That stuff doesn't mean much. But if someone says, "Hey, I follow your story, and you seem like you hold up," that really means a lot. That's important to me as a person,
Being
and also as a
authentic.
therapist to like show up in that way. I don't want to be fake or phony or present myself as a walking billboard.
Yeah, I love that. And also too, can you share with the audience? I think you have such a unique story, like not only around your business, but like also too, like how things went when you met Vanessa, who's now your wife, and you guys have a baby together. Can you kind of
Mm,
like take us through the progression of starting to
sure.
be a therapist? And I believe you went through a divorce and kind of like
Yeah.
how that happened.
Yeah. Um, I actually went to film school, and I went to film school because I wanted to make movies. I was a screenwriter, and it was also the easiest degree to get to graduate college. I was a C student, horrible at school, ADHD, dyslexic. Um, and then I got married. She was an actress. She did very well. I did not. Our marriage ended. And then that's when I decided to go be a therapist because of my own therapist, sitting in a room and learning about therapy and how the inner journey is where growth is. So I went and became a therapist at I think 35, and my story takes a turn where I graduated, and I wanted to be Dr. Drew. I wanted to wear wrinkle-free pants and have an office, and I wanted to have letters after my name, and pull up in my little BMW with the latte. That's what I thought was like the perfect life. And I just wanted to like make six figures. I didn't want to be, I wasn't trying to be like build an empire or anything. And then once I started to work as a therapist, I had this weird inner conflict where I tried to tuck my shirt in. I tried to do things like therapists do, and a lot of therapists are supposed to be very kind of neutral, cardboard cutout. And I felt like I was dying inside, and I felt like Clark Kent pushing a mail cart. And so I said, "Fuck it. You know what? I'm freshly out of a divorce. I'm going through this whole thing. I have no money. I have no friends. I have nothing to lose. I have no children." And so I said, "I'm just gonna be me," and that's where my story really kind of took off. What that looked like was meeting people at the park, meeting people in the coffee shop. I was into motorcycles, so I would just roll up jeans, t-shirt. Who reminds me of me? Keanu Reeves, like him eating a sandwich in the park.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was, kind of a loner, and help people around Los Angeles out of the office. I remember there's a lake here in LA called Silver Lake. It's a 50-minute walk. So I started doing walk and talks with clients, and they're like, "Oh my god, you actually walk with me?" I was like, "Yeah."
That's
And
amazing.
then, yeah, and then I started using the webcam, which you weren't supposed to do. And this is, back when people were on AOL. Webcams were plugged in before broadband, and we were like robotic like this. And I just like, you know what? I said, I'm going to show up in a way that's honest to me. I don't care if it's not how you're supposed to show up. T-shirt, jeans, and so that I didn't know that would kind of become my brand. That was what felt. Oh, speaking of alignment, that felt aligned. you
Amazing.
know, and I
Yes.
followed that, and then book deals and
For the progression there.
retreats, and yeah,
And then
yeah,
so
and all that
and so
stuff.
you're dating, and you're out there dating, and from my understanding, you weren't really looking to make any like commitments per se, but then you go on a blind date with
Yeah.
Vanessa, who's your now wife. Tell us about that.
Megan, I was trying to be single on purpose. I was trying to practice what I preach, and I went through a long stretch of singlehood. I gotta say, I think it was like 5 years. So riding motorcycles, crossfitting, just kind of doing my thing, trying to be a better version of myself. And because I missed out on my 20s, I didn't get to participate in all the debauchery that a lot of 20-year-olds do because I was always in a relationship. So I had I had this weird like I'm gonna go have a threesome. I'm gonna wake up with someone I don't like. I want to go have casual sex, like all these things that I never did. And so I was trying to do that. I didn't have a lot of luck. I had like 1.5 experiences, and then I went on this blind date, met Vanessa, and that was the beginning of my next kind of back break. And Vanessa happened to be a therapist as well, which is kind of scary because now we could check each other, you know. And now she speaks the language, so now I couldn't hide. And then through Vanessa, I God, I really think we grow the most in our relationships, because we're so different. In the beginning was rocky. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, "Oh, I need more time. I don't know." But
Ambivalent?
what's that?
Ambivalent?
And not yeah, ambivalent. Well, because I knew if I invest in this, this is going to be the long one. Like whoever I date next, I want to have a family. I want to like build something. And so I knew Vanessa wasn't going to be like a one night stand. I knew Vanessa would. So it's like, oh, I got to sign on the dotted line. Like
So it was like
this
scary.
is it's scary. Yeah, it was like it wasn't just like, oh, where we could just paint the town. Oh, that makes me sound very old. That's like some boomer shit, huh? Paint the town. People are like, what? We could have fun. We could go ride motorcycles. It wasn't. I mean, yes, we could do that, but this was going to be like, oh, she's has emotional intelligence. She has self-esteem. She knows what she wants. This is going to be a long relationship. And so I was scared of that. And so I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And then she eventually said, listen, man, shit or get off the pot. I don't got time for this shit.
And
And so I said, okay.
what do you think if someone chooses a relationship that feels comfortable, maybe over choosing a relationship that would provide growth? Because it sounds like
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Vanessa, right, you knew that you would probably grow from that instead of maybe something that's like more comfortable. What do you think about people that you work with or just in general
hmm
when it comes to
Megan, that
that?
is such a great question. And I think it's something that we have to all ask ourselves, right? Like, I used to be attracted to the crazy, the chaos, the kind of relationship where you don't want to leave the house, you just want to be in bed all day, that kind of stuff, right? And I thought that was romantic. And that was most of my 20s and 30s. And I would lose my life and then lose myself in someone else because it gave me such a high, it felt so good. And it wasn't until I met Vanessa where it's like, oh, that's actually not healthy, not sustainable. This is healthy. It's going to be hard because it's going to be confronting, and the relationship is going to show us a lot of wounds within ourselves, like mirrors, and then working through that, you're going to have a corrective love experience on the other side of that. And then by doing so, you'll rewire yourself. And so now I could spot crazy a lot faster, my radar sharper. And now the crazy repels me. I'm not drawn to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people, well into their 30s and 40s and even older, they think that if they feel this strong connection, this strong physical connection, like, oh, like this must be like the person. But really, that's no basis of a healthy relationship whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have legs. I've learned more with my relationship by loving Vanessa than I have with anyone in my life. And one of the big things I've learned is it's all about repairing the ruptures. And if you don't have the ability to do that, the plane's going to eventually go down. Like you're going to fight. It's not about how many times you fight. So there's going to be ruptures no matter what, whether it's, an argument in the morning or something big. If two people don't have the ability to repair that, your nervous system you're out. Like it's just going to go. It's telemundo. It's throwing chairs. It's reactions. It's not like a corrective love experience or anything healing. It's repeating the past.
Absolutely. And I think that it takes, and even for me, it took me years to like realize that that connection or that feeling of strong connection that has nothing to do with a healthy relationship. But
Right.
what is your take on, I feel like women are typically more relationship minded, right? I mean, I think it's just like in our like biology. Like, what is your
Yeah.
take on like if a woman's like, hey, I want a serious relationship and that's what I'm looking for. Whereas a
Mhm.
man might be like, listen, I just want to like go with the flow and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that females can get concerned about, well, like, is this man just going to like waste my time? Do
Right.
you think like, well, how do you feel about the go with the flow situation?
I like something in the middle, right? I like something where, because I see two sides. I see one where, oh, let's just loosey goosey go with the flow, and it makes people feel unsafe if they're looking for a long term investment relationship. But at the same time, if someone is two weeks in, do you want kids? What about names? Like if you're trying to quote unquote lock it down,
Yeah.
I think that could suffocate the relationship. I think that could make people like kind of So I do think that there should be an element of dating where there's room for flow. There's room for like let's not talk about baby names yet. Let's just get to know each other. Let's see how we fight and how we repair. Let's explore the bedroom. I think all that needs to happen. So if you're getting pressure of like, where are you going to be in 5 years? Is this a thing? Do you see I think those conversations could come more naturally. So I think for the women who are wanting to have answers early on, maybe for them to sit with that and try to be more present. And then for the men, and these are generalizations, men and women, if for the men who's all loosey goosey, um, he needs to pick a lane like I needed to do.
Yeah, I know. I think that's like a perfect example. Like we're kind of like waiting it out. Let's see what happens. But at
Mhm,
some point in
mhm.
time, you decide to make a decision. And that goes into my next question of, and I know that you see this often. So people jump from like one relationship to the next relationship. And,
Yeah,
single on purpose is about being single on purpose and working on healing yourself. But
yeah.
would you agree that at some point in time, it's time for you to get back into a relationship because that's how you heal as well. Would you agree with
Yes.
that?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is some people who find their cape in singlehood, and they're so comfortable with being single, they have the routine. They're like, I don't want like maybe you get to a point where you're so used to single that getting into a relationship actually terrifies you because you're scared that love can actually break your routines, stop from what you're building, or all of that. And so then yeah, I think sometimes leaning into a relationship, if especially if you're scared to, can be what's prescribed. you know
Yeah, because I feel like at some point in time, you don't just heal alone because at the end of the day, relationships are just mirrors, right?
I
So,
don't think we're meant to heal alone as humans. I don't know. I don't think we're built that way.
yeah, I think
I mean,
that,
I think we're meant to be alone in parts of our life to gather ourselves, to build a better relationship with ourselves, to for sure. But ultimately, and it doesn't have to be romantic love, by the way. I think the world society puts a lot of weight on, who's your person, find your the one, or like you like your friends. Like imagine the friends who we get so much the safe space from and that we grow from. Like we're not really meant to do life alone. We are social. We're village creatures.
yeah, yeah, we need connection. And what are your thoughts on, because I think some people in the audience may be able to relate to this. Let's say that they've dated someone and they have a very strong physical connection with them, and then it becomes an on and off again situation. In your experience as a licensed therapist, are those situations that you work through, or do you think that once you start doing that on and off, that it becomes maybe a little bit of a trauma bond or something of that nature?
mm, yeah. So I think look, first of all, I would say that there's this thing in therapy school. And I think every therapist keeps this in her back pocket. It's no child enters adulthood unscarred, right? So we all have trauma. I mean, it, it it's how the trauma manifests in us, and then it's how the trauma turns us into magnets that attract other people, with trauma and wounds. And then that in itself can become a bond, right? And so this is happening underneath. It may not be a logical thing, but this is why people say I'm always attracted to the same type of person, but the faces keep changing, but it's the same dynamic. A lot of times that is bonding through trauma. There is something about chaos that smells familiar. Most people did not grow up in a calm, safe environment, right? There's also something about intermittent love. Yeah, I love you, get away. There's something that that excites us about that, as opposed to love that is safe and consistent. If you're not used to it, can feel boring. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like many people, they'll just continue, like you said, change the faces because it's not as exciting anymore, right? Oh, it's not as
Yeah.
exciting. This is getting a
Yeah.
little dull. And I mean, my perspective is, especially somewhere like, I'm in South Florida, there's so many options. So, like, pretty much you have
Mhm.
unlimited options. So it's like, well, why is someone going to really sit and like work through things because they can just go out and like find another person?
Let me ask you this: as someone who is successful, as someone who has built something and is perfectly fine, independent individual, I'm assuming your bar goes up, right? As far as who you want to invest in. And so then does your pool get very small, and is then dating difficult for you?
That's a great question. I would say that I always like to try to keep a positive mindset.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's definitely great options, but does it get more difficult? Yes, it
Yeah.
gets more
Yeah.
difficult. I like to keep an open mind because like for me, success is different for everyone, right? For me, some of the most important things is having the same like shared goals, like I'm wanting to build
Mhm.
something larger with someone, larger than
Mhm.
just ourselves, and then have a safe space, safe and healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. It can be a challenge, but I try to be like open minded. But I can tell you, what's helped me a lot is actually, some of the work I started with you years ago, and I went through painful relationships, and I had to
Mhm.
learn that like love is not pain. Like that might be dysfunction. Might be something that I had to learn to grow from, and then I started really taking a step back and thinking, what is it about myself that I'm attracting some of this into
Mhm.
my life, right? So I think
Mhm.
once I really started to like work from the inside out and I try to be mindful of what am I attracting in my life? Because I truly believe in that. I believe in energy and attraction. And
Yeah, me
sometimes
too.
there's tests
Yeah.
too.
Let me ask you this, as you have been evolving and growing and as your inner journey changes, um, do you find yourself attracting different types of people? Like, are you attracting different people now than when you were, say, in your, early 30s
I would
or
even say
20s?
over the last couple years, I've started to attract
Mm.
different people. I feel like for me personally, once I really started like focusing, like working on like myself, really working on my stuff, and I did almost a year of like it wasn't dating. I was working on myself. I was working on like the internal things, some subconscious items. That's when I started attracting um, I don't wanna say I'll say it like a little better quality for, like, what I'm looking for. I started to notice that different types of people were coming into my life, yes.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is because I, like you, believe in energy, frequency, attracting versus chasing, alignment. I believe in all of that, but I also wonder how much of it is because our radar is sharper, that we're able to see things that we didn't in our 20s. And so we're like, "Oh, I'm seeing something in this person, whether it's good or bad." And so you can, um, it could appear like, yeah, I'm attracting this person or I'm not. And back in the day, in our younger years, we were just, we just went by what felt good, you know?
Yes, I mean, well, even when I started my work with you, and I had went through, a couple different things that you know of, and I still like, I wasn't getting it, like, I knew it, right? But, like, I wasn't getting it, but it wasn't until I really, worked on myself, and I think that you would probably agree with this too, like, relationships are only, like, one portion of our life, so I think
Mm,
most people that work with me, we all know, like, yeah, I would love to have, like, a healthy, loving relationship, but, like, I don't feel like I get to choose when that happens. I think that's more of, like, the universe and God, and there's other things in life than just a significant other. So, it's just, like, continuing to
yes.
build your life.
And you know what I gotta say? A lot of clients I have who are, and it doesn't matter what gender you are, if you're successful and you're single and every part of your life checks the box and you're happy, except the fact that you haven't quote unquote found your person, it almost makes it harder because you're like, that's the missing puzzle
I
piece I need. And
know.
if I have that, it's a total illusion, but it's like, if I just have this, then I have this perfect life. And so a lot of people who have done well and who can do a lot of things and travel, and they're like, I have the perfect life, except I just need to find my fucking partner. And it's so hard and frustrating.
That's me. Like that. I mean, that's
I know.
me in like a
I
nutshell,
don't want to
right?
say it's you,
No, but
but
like
I mean,
seriously.
indirectly, yeah,
But like, because you do, and
yeah.
you're like, it's all these little check boxes, but it's after acceptance. Like for me, it's like acceptance. I don't get to choose
Mm,
that. I believe in the higher power and what I'm building in my life. And there's no way that it's going to miss me. And whatever's meant to be is supposed to meant to be. But I do think it's harder for women. Women get older. It's different for men. I always say in the next life, I want to come back as a man. That's
mm.
just me, because you can focus on different things. And
Wait,
um,
why? What's?
I feel
Do
like
you struggle being a woman?
I feel like just like women in general, like women have their youth. And I think that it can
Yeah,
be a struggle for women,
yeah,
as they tend to get a little older. And then let's say that you have a man and he's like, hey, I'm just going to put my head down and like focus on my business like for the next 10
yeah.
years. And if I find someone great, but if not, like it's okay. I do think that can be a little bit of a push pull.
I think it's fair because yes, in our society, especially when it comes to physical beauty, it is totally lopsided in that women, as they get older, they get judged, right? Men, as they get older, they are, what's the word, distinguished, right?
Yes.
And so, look, I'm 52, and like this, I think society, world, friends, they think I'm more attractive at 52 than I was at 32. Now, if I was a woman, it would be the complete opposite,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes.
Which is totally unfair. The other thing is, women, when you have a child, I mean, the amount of body change, like hormonal change, I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, I've witnessed this, right, with Vanessa, and then women have perimenopause, menopause, like all these things where it's like, oh my god, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. It is. I think women are more in a pressure cooker, and then also women have to fucking fight just for equality, you know? And so, yeah, it is a lot harder being a woman. I mean, of course, in this world.
Yeah, I think
So,
that someone that's focused so much on my career that, you kind of wake up one day and you're like, oh, wait, like, did I focus on my career too much? But then it's just
mhm,
remembering that everyone's path is different and everyone's timeline is different. And I think that the best thing that we can do is be like authentic to ourselves. And like I said, who you're attracting in life, because I'm a believer that the universe is going to show you there's going to be people that are going to come into your life. And if you've healed, if you've actually worked on healing, that whatever you used to be attracted to, that's not even going to taste right anymore. That's not going to be attracted to you. You're not going to be attracted to that. You're like,
right,
I don't want
right.
that. That's what I don't want.
I think when you're single for a long time, and I know this from personal experience because I've been single for long stretches. Um, we in our head play like, okay, so if I was with someone and you start playing this beautiful fantasy highlight reel, oh, just sweats and Netflix, fucking traveling. We're gonna have sex all day, pancakes. Like, there's so much I want to do. I could do it with this person. I don't care about my friends. I just want to be with a person, a partner. You're just all these amazing. But if you were to actually get into a relationship, what you're forgetting is um, arguments, conflict, not align, something happens, and the whole day you're just thinking about it because we have resentment, we have uneasiness, and that's also part of it too. But when we're single and we're like looking for a partner, we usually play all the good stuff. We don't play what it is actually like day to day to be in a relationship. It's the same thing with parenting. When people want kids, they're like, yeah, oh, your kid's so cute, and you think of all these, oh, I want to like, play Legos with my kids. I'm going to teach her this and do this and do this. Then you have a child and you're like, okay, I don't sleep anymore. This is crazy. The kid had like, I think we need to play the documentary more than the highlight reel is what I'm
And
saying
I agree
when
with
it comes
that.
to love relationships.
And also, too, what is your take on timing? Because this has changed for me personally over time. I am
Yeah.
an advocate that I believe timing is imperative. That's what I think whenever it comes to relationships. Where before I was like, no, it's the person. Like if I meet like my person, it doesn't matter the timing because that's how it's meant to be. But I think
Mhm.
timing is really important. I mean, what would your takes be on that?
Yeah, I think timing's important, but I also agree with you in that, we meet random people when we least expect it, you know? I've gotten into a 3-year relationship, with someone who was just a friend, like, she was right under my nose, and, this is years ago. I always thought she was attractive, and, we were at, my birthday party just hanging out, just having some drinks, and then I ended up kissing her that night, and then boom, 3 years, So, um I think we meet people when we least expect to meet people, and we don't know when we're going to meet people, and who's going to come into our lives. And so, yes, I think timing is a huge factor, but we also don't have control of when we are going to fall in love with someone.
So true. Maybe that's
You know?
also to like going with the flow, right? Going with the flow, seeing what happens. But what do you find if you could give advice to single man or woman out there that they would like to find their partner? What
hmm
advice would you give someone?
Well, the whole reason why I wrote "Single on Purpose," and by the way, it's single on purpose, not single forever. Right? I'm not saying to. It's not an anti-relationship book. I'm very pro relationship. Um, I think the more that you try to find yourself first, and of course, that's not a weekend, that's kind of a lifelong journey. There's an ebb and flow. The more you focus on finding yourself, building a relationship with yourself, working through wounds, trauma. I mean, like you're a good example of this. I mean, in the last 5 years, that's all you've been doing, working on yourself, whether it's physical stuff, past stuff, trauma stuff, all of that, right? The more that you could turn that into a lifestyle, I think what happens is you your frequency changes. And I think that,
Agreed.
the whole water meets water at its level. I think then you start to attract and you're able to see someone who's also on that path, you know? And then I think it sets you up for like the best corrective love in that you're going to find someone who is also working on himself, working on his trauma. And it sets two people up to build a relationship that can be corrective. Because if you're not working on yourself, you're probably going to pick people you used to pick. You're going to be drawn to people you're used to drawn, and that's just going to probably repeat something old. And then the relation,
Like you're picking something that feels familiar.
yeah, easy, or you're just putting weight on, like hotness, chemistry, sexual attraction, or whatever you're used to picking, and then there isn't room for an elevated love. There isn't room for co-creation. There isn't room for two people to be like, you know what? I've never said this in a relationship, but I feel very anxious. And when you leave, it's my shit. I need to work on it. But I feel like my abandonment stuff is coming out. Like these hard conversations, right? Um, to actually do that in action as a practice and put in reps, uh, that's that's how you start to build something with legs.
So true. Communication, like good communication. I also too, like I know when I first started with you, and I don't think that was like 5 years ago. When I first started with you, that was one of the first things you said to me. You're like, maybe it's kind of like the energy or something that you're like putting off. And like that's what I couldn't figure it out at the time, but it took me years of working on myself. And then I started seeing it and I'm like, oh my gosh, or I'm aware and like, why did this person come in my life? What can I learn from this? How can I get
Yeah.
better? And I feel like a lot of people that maybe don't work on themselves as much sometimes
hmm
kind of bypass. So they will go solely off of attraction, which listen, I think attraction's really important. I'm not
Yeah, of
saying
course,
that.
of course. You
But
shouldn't be with someone you're not attracted to.
yes, but the
Yeah, yeah.
chemistry alone is not enough to keep a
Right.
sustainable relationship. And people be like, oh, my relationships aren't working out, but they just kind of bypass really working on themselves. But do you think that people can heal instead of maybe bypassing? What if they meet someone and that person is a catalyst for their growth and they grow within the relationship? Is that something
Yeah,
that's something that's possible?
sure, absolutely. And I gotta say, not all relationships are meant to be forever,
Yeah, forever. That's
because
a
we're
strong
we're
word.
all like trying to find the happily ever after, and A lot of times you'll grow from a relationship that was a stepping stone to something else. And what that relationship taught you was what you were meant to learn. And that relationship only took you to that point and expired, but it wasn't a waste. It was needed. It was the missing puzzle piece to now take what you learned from that and then apply it to something that this relationship can't give you, but this one can.
So true, especially for
You know?
people if they go through breakups and something that's painful. Like, just remember on the other side of it, like, there's so much growth that you can't just see
Yeah.
right now because you have blinders on, maybe, but there's so much growth and there's a bigger reason why that happened.
Yeah. When I was on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert, I wanted to talk about the value of expired relationships. I always say that a relationship has expired, and it's kind of controversial. And he wanted to talk about that because he didn't agree or he had a problem with it. We ended up talking about me having sex with a plum at age 12 for like 2 hours, but we got sidetracked. but the reason why I think that's so important is if you believe that relationships do expire, there's so much acceptance in that. There's always like, oh, that wasn't meant to go a day further, or and it doesn't mean to not work on something. I'm just saying that I think every collision serves a purpose. So it could literally be one session with your therapist, or it could be a 20-year friendship, or it can be a 3-month magical summer with someone, you know? I think every collision that we have it has a human exchange, and two people take away something from it. And if you take away nothing, then maybe that's what you're supposed to take away, you know, like the learning from that.
And what would you say if there's someone that, like, kind of has a pattern of staying in expired relationships? Like, at what point do you think
Mm,
that you make a decision that this has been expired? And, like, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could
right.
probably end up spending years in expired relationships. Do you find that's what happens?
Well, then I don't think those relationships are expired. I think a lot of people break up or leave the relationship before it's run its course. Like to
Oh,
me, an expired relationship means you've done everything you can. It's no longer honest to you. You find yourself breaking up with yourself. So it's like, okay, this is now done. If you're in something, because if you're in something that you're not even in, like you're just kind of going through the motions, um, it was already over. You're just now in it because you're scared to leave, or you're scared to start over, or you're scared of abandonment, or maybe you're comfortable with the finances, or you have children. Like there are other factors that keep you in it. Um, and so to me, that just, you're also taking someone else hostage, you know?
and you, in your experience, do you think that people give up too quickly in today's day and age, that they don't let things play
Mhm.
out?
I think it's not about letting things play out. It's about doing everything you can and then coming to the conclusion that, you know, going back to the title of the podcast, that it's just not lying with where you're at, you know?
But really, really trying. I think that's like the thing. Instead of being like, oh, you know what, this is uncomfortable.
Yes.
So we're going to break up and
Yes.
I'm going to be back on the dating sites, and I'm going to go meet like
Yeah.
10 people. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening.
I think our parents stayed in things way too long, right? Like my parents should have been divorced years ago, but they didn't speak the language. Koreans don't divorce. They were just, I mean, they were sleeping in separate rooms. They were just roommates, right? For most of my life, my parents were just roommates. So there's that generation. But then I think like Gen Z, it's like, oh, we don't like the same music. Okay.
Right?
Right.
Yep.
And then
Sorry.
you're swiping on the way home to find someone else. And it's like, there's no stretch. There's no rolling up the sleeves. So, um, you have to lean into discomfort because I mean, think about what it takes. Think about what it takes to change a body.
A
I mean, the
lot.
amount of fucking work and sweats and diet and exercise to actually change your body. And I think we have to look at relationships like that. Like, let's put in that much work, and then if it's not, you know, if it's causing you to break up with yourself, and it's not aligned, then at least you know, like, I did the best I could, and I learned from it, and that's no longer honest to me, and I'm okay with it. A lot of people check out too soon.
Yeah, I love that. I think that if that's anything, I think that's one of the large takeaways from this, because that's what I see in today's day and age, especially, South Florida and places where in
Yeah.
LA, right? You're in LA and um,
I also think if you have a lot in your life, it's easier to check out because you're not used to people saying no to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if you're successful, you have, like no one says no to you. You get what you want.
Yeah,
Then
I mean, I
in
find
a
it, and listen, it's going to sound like a little sexist maybe, but I find like successful females that like they have it together and they're attractive. Like there's still the ones that I know, they're all relationship minded. They're not out there trying to like, date
mm,
around or keep finding what's better. But I feel like the men, it's different because there's so many options, right? So they're like, oh, like they get nervous about like, oh, I don't know. I have a little bit of fear of commitment. I'm not sure if I'm going to settle down. And, they wake up and, much older and probably maybe in the same space. But just like your
I do.
example, you made a decision with Vanessa.
Yeah, and I gotta say, well, first of all, your statement, I do think that's a generalization, but I'm also that's your experience, so that must be true in your world,
Just
in
in my
wherever. Yeah,
experience,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, Vanessa and I wouldn't be together if we checked out when it got uncomfortable. We wouldn't. So it was our decision that when it got uncomfortable, hey, let's look at this. Where's it coming from? Um, what's the transference, the projection? Let's go to couples therapy. Let's actually work on it for a little bit. And through that, it produces more relationship glue. And then through that, you actually learn that, oh, there's stuff happening that I used to react to, but now I'm looking at it as soil for growth, you know? And that gets you over the humps, and then it builds legs, and then your relationship feels more safe. And once you do it once, when it happens again, you know that you could have a conversation without people leaving. You can have a conversation without the roof coming down, you know? And so you feel less like abandonment. You feel more safe. No one's going to cheat on you. No one's going to, whatever it is that you have that you're carrying, because you're having the hard conversations, you're being vulnerable. And listen also, people change and their definitions of relationships change. You could start off monogamous. 6 years later, you could decide, hey, I might want to be open. Like, we're all changing, evolving creatures, right? So everything's a conversation,
And I think
and
that's another thing too, saying about like forever, but like saying forever, you don't really know how you're going to evolve as a person.
right. I mean, let me give you an example. Right, 2 days ago, I am shirtless, running on the side of the road with a fucking the stack of bananas, like a football, right? Listening to music, passing cows and horses in Costa Rica. And I had this thought. I was like, dude, if someone came to me a year ago and said, John, a year from now, your house is gonna burn down. You're gonna be running on the side of the road with the with the
Oh my
with the with
gosh.
the bunch with a bunch of bananas, and it's gonna be pouring, and you're gonna be chasing passing cows and horses. I'd be like, what the? I would say you got the wrong John Kim. There's a lot of John Kims in this world. You got the wrong one. And that's what I was doing. And my point in saying that is like, you don't know where you're going to be a year from now. You don't know
So
what your
true.
definitions are going to be. You don't know where your relationship's going to be. You don't know what you're going to want. And so it's one of my biggest life lessons this year, because I have a complete different life than a year ago. Like I mean, look at my hair. I have a complete different life that I would never imagine in my life. So
And you found that it's very through tragedy, right? It was through
through
tragedy
through the
that
burning down of my house, yes, through
correct
tragedy.
that you found a different way of living and a different way of life.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's tragedy. I wouldn't define it that way. Um, to me, I'm seeing it as a cleansing. To me, I'm seeing it as a burning down of the old. And yet, yes, it was traumatic, and yes, it was unexpected, and yes, it was very sad, and all of that. But listen, if our house didn't burn down, we would have never had the courage to like move to another country. I would have
Yeah.
never had the courage to do a lot of things, because you start thinking about logically, oh, well, our kid has friends here. And then, and then it never happens. Right. So the fact that our house burned down gave us the courage and permission, gave us no choice but to go explore something different. And now we're living in a different country.
But yeah, it's
We're, you know,
all about perspective. Is there anything that you wanted to like ask me or anything like that?
While we're doing this podcast and we're talking about discomfort and growth, all that stuff, I thought when you asked me to be on here, I should have said, Megan, I would do this under one condition. You're going to be in sweats, socks in your living room, just eating fucking chips and we're just gonna hang like slumber, because I know that would be uncomfortable for you.
I don't
No
even
makeup.
have chips at my house.
Well, you would have to go buy chips. You have to buy chips and soda for that day.
That's funny.
But yeah. I think, you know, what I want to say to you is, knowing your story, following your story for the last few years, and seeing the trajectory of your dreams, passions. I'm just proud of you. I'm proud of you putting action behind words. I'm proud of you, even like this podcast, right? It's work, and it's you manifesting an idea. Also, it's passion driven, it's mission driven. You're trying to help other people. So these are all things that we've talked about in the quote unquote therapy room that you're now actually doing. And a lot of people talk a lot of shit, but they don't do anything. So
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, I'm really
Thanks.
proud of you for doing this kind of work, for actually working on yourself.
Thank you so much. And one thing I want to share with our listeners is that John Kim also hosts retreats. If you want to just give a brief mention, like I know you have one coming up in Costa Rica, and then also where our listeners can find you and find out more information.
You can just find me at Being Your Therapist across social. And then I have my own, I call it a Korean bodega, because when you hit my link tree, so much shit pops up. It's kind of embarrassing. Like, I sell hubcaps and pagers and all sorts of stuff. But you can find the retreat information there. Costa Rica, December 1 through 5, the week of December 1st.
Amazing. And are you going to continue to like have these retreats, or are you just taking it
I think
one retreat at a time?
I do the retreats because I get a lot of value. It's not like this, you know, I used to do retreats and there were like 30 people and it was like kind of a big business. This one's intimate. This is like, I want 6 people. I want to go ATV riding with 6 people and then go walk on the ocean and talk about shit. You know, I want to eat plantains and do some medicine. Like, I want it to be really like intimate, casual. So yeah, so it's very limited as far as seats.
Amazing. Okay, we'll check it out. And John Kim, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Finding Alignment. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe. I would love if you could leave me a review. And if there's anyone that you would like to hear from on the show, please let us know. Thanks for tuning in.